I've opened a lot of older products on this channel, including many older tins, and one of the things that you notice if you watch those videos is that older tins in general weren't all that helpful. They didn't really include that good of promo cards, the packs in them often weren't that good either, and in general tins, while a cool collector's item, weren't really a big ticket item for many Yu-Gi-Oh players. This all changed about 5 years ago in 2014 when Konami released the first set of Megatins, and ever since then we've still just gotten Megatins year after year. These tins completely changed the game not only for Yu-Gi-Oh's secondary market, but just how we look at tins in general. The main selling point of those tins are the Mega Packs themselves, which reprint many expensive cards from the past year, but in today's video I want to focus not on the Mega Packs, but the actual tin promos. All of these tins, even though they've changed the number a few times, come with a few promos, not just the cover card of the tin like many older Yu-Gi-Oh tins, but they include several promos, and usually when there's two different tins released, they have some different promos in them. And in today's video, I want to focus on the 5 most impactful promos of these Megatins. In some cases, these are promos that we were waiting on for a long time. In some cases, they're promos that made a competitive impact. And in some cases, these promos were cards that would have been in the Mega Packs, but Konami actually went out of their way to put them as promo cards, which means that you're guaranteed to get them in every single tin that's bought. It seems like of all the modern archetypes, one of them that is consistently plagued with bad import dates is the DDD strategy. There have been a ton of issues, both with the structure deck getting delayed and a bunch of OCG cards taking forever to get here, and in the 2016 Megatins, 2 years late, we got 2 very important DDD cards. Gus King Alexander and Flame King Genghis are both very important cards to the DDD strategy. These releases did not immediately make this deck competitive. You would have to wait a few more months for that when they got their official structure deck release and they got a few more important cards, but in general these were prints that people were waiting on for years and a lot of people wanted to see much earlier. The same sort of issue would be repeated time and time again, even more so than decks like Fluffles where they were waiting on Fight for Patchwork. It seems like DDDs in particular, Konami just does not want to give the TCG all of the OCG cards in a timely fashion. Regardless, these cards were very hyped up as promos in the Megatins, and people were very excited to play a full power DDD deck when the structure deck came out a few months later, and if these cards were not printed in the Megatins, they very well might have been expensive cards from core sets, and people are always happy to get cards in cheaper prints. At number 4, released in the 2017 Megatins, we have Proxy Dragon. Proxy Dragon could not have been released at a better time in the TCG. We had only just barely gotten Link monsters to the game, and many people were complaining that there simply weren't enough good Link monsters. Proxy Dragon came in and became a near extra deck staple, with pretty much every single deck that was playing any Link 2 monsters finding themselves playing Proxy Dragon. It definitely helped not only that Proxy Dragon had arrows that many other cards of those early Link sets didn't have, but also the fact that it's one of the most generic Link monsters, if not the most generic Link monsters in the game right now. Proxy Dragon just takes 2 monsters, and if you think back to many of the early Links, they were very specific, either to archetypes or attributes, which meant that Proxy Dragon was a very useful addition to many strategies that weren't really fitting in with Link monsters at that point. Couple all of this with the fact that Proxy Dragon has a decently useful effect in a variety of situations, and you find yourself with a Link monster that a lot of people are excited to get. And once again, just like in the case of the DDD monsters, Proxy Dragon is a card that Konami could have just put in a core set as a secret rare to milk people's money out of their wallets, but they decided to put it in a Megatin, and I think a lot of players, myself included, were very surprised but happy with that decision. Many people did not predict that Konami would put Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit in the 2016 Megatins as one of the promo cards. There are a couple reasons for that. First off, this card was incredibly Cross Souls as a secret rare, and it would make sense for Konami to put it in just the regular mega packs. Even more so though, this card had just gotten reprinted 6 months earlier in Premium Gold Infinite Gold, but despite these two facts, Konami still went ahead and put it in the Megatins as a promo card, which means that you're guaranteed to get it, and it was one of the better decisions that they made as far as promo cards go. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit still maintains its relevancy even headed into 2019, and it's just one of those incredibly powerful generic cards that Konami really should put in Megatins as promos. While you certainly want to have chase cards in the Megatins, especially secret rares, it's definitely really cool when Konami goes out of their way to give us an excellent guaranteed card like Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Our number 2 pick follows a similar vein as Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Pot of Desires is a card that when it was initially released was over $70 a copy for the secret rare, and Konami could have just put it in the regular mega pack for the 2017 Megatins as one of the chase secret rares that people were looking to pull. However, just like Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, Konami went out of their way to put Pot of Desires as a promo card in not just one, but both of the Megatins from 2017. This is a huge move, and I know people will be saying, well, what difference does it make if a card is a promo card versus just a regular secret rare in the Megatins? To that I say, just keep in mind that the version of Evenly Matched from the most recent Megatins, which is the same rarity that Pot of Desires would have been, is currently sitting at $25. And if you don't think that makes a big difference, just keep in mind that with Pot of Desires as a promo card, it was just around the $4 to $5 range. That is a huge difference to budget players, and also really helps out players that don't buy cards online and are only buying the Megatins in person, because for those players it's a lot easier to just buy 3 tins and know that you're guaranteed Pot of Desires instead of sort of forcing them to buy a whole bunch of tins in order to hopefully pull a couple copies of it. Pot of Desires is one of the best generic cards released in the last 5 years. It still continues to see play in 2019, and it's one of the best Megatin decisions that Konami has ever done for promo cards. And lastly, at the very top of the list, we include a card that follows many of the same guidelines from the previous 4 cards that we've talked about, or I guess 5 if we count the DDDs as separate cards, and that is Elder Entity Norden. So what does this card do? Why does this matter so much as a promo card from Konami's perspective as well as a player's perspective? Well, this card sort of encompasses everything that I've been talking about. It's a card that is an OCG import that people wanted. It's a card that's extremely competitive, and also it's a card that a lot of people, including myself, thought would be a secret rare in a core set, and it likely would have been a $50 to $70 card if it was released in that way. Putting this card as a promo card in a Megatin is a huge move by Konami and a huge sort of benefit to many players out there. Even the competitive players that are willing to spend hundreds of dollars on decks definitely can appreciate when Konami gives a card like Elder Entity Norden as a promo card, because it makes their deck that much cheaper. The equivalent of this happening in 2018's Megatins would basically be if we got Needle Fiber in those as a promo card, and you can kind of see where people would be very excited for that if it happened. It's a card people have been waiting for. It's a card that Konami will likely make a secret rare in a core set, and then for Konami to just give it to players as a cheap card in a tin, it makes a huge difference to a lot of people out there. Norden is one of the best fusion monsters ever released, likely the best instant fusion target in the entire game, and for Konami to release it as a promo card was a pretty crazy move that a lot of people did not expect. Before we ended this video, I wanted to give a couple shoutouts, some honorable mentions here. First off, in the 2015 Megatins, there were other good cards that Konami released besides Norden. Majesty's Fiend and Castel are 2 stellar reprints that could have been, once again, in those mega packs, but Konami put them as promo cards. They're not nearly as important as the other cards on this list, but they are still very good reprints that players were asking for. If you were paying attention to the tins that I was mentioning as I was going through these promo cards, you might have mentioned that I didn't include any cards from 2014 or 2018. In the case of 2014, I'll be completely honest here, the promo cards are just weird choices. Konami really just didn't understand what they were doing with this product at that point, so I won't fault them too much. But in the case of 2018, the problem with these promos are, I mean, they're cool, don't get me wrong. Nebula Neos and Junk Speeder are really interesting because they're completely brand new cards. But in the case of those ones, which aren't very good, even if they are cool, and the rest of the promo cards, which are a ton of cards from the OCG, they just aren't very good. Definitely not good enough, definitely not better than a lot of the cards on this list that I talked about already. If you look at the 10 promo cards combined from the 2018 Megatins, the only one that has seen competitive play is Mud Dragon of the Swamp, and only because it's a decent card to use Super Poly with. If Super Poly didn't exist, this card would never see play, and I think that just goes to show that the 2018 Megatins, even if the Mega Packs themselves were good, the actual promos were pretty lackluster. Anyway though, hope you guys enjoyed today's discussion video on these promo cards from the Megatins. I'll see you later though. Goodbye.